everyone, to another CEC CITL AI Quick Take on responsible use of AI in education. I'm Dr. Olivia Fudge Coleman from the University of Central Florida, and I'm a co-PI for the Center for Innovation, Design, and Digital Learning, or what we call CITL. In this quick take, we're going to talk about how AI can support instructional planning in special education, specifically how it can help you streamline routine planning tasks while keeping you in the driver's seat on the decisions that matter most. Throughout this session, I want to be clear. I'm talking about AI as a decision support tool, not a replacement for your professional judgment, and especially not a shortcut around the ethical and legal obligations we carry when we work with documents like the Individualized Education Program, or the IEP. Before we get started, let me quickly introduce CITL. CITL is a national technology center. It's funded by the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs. The center is focused on strengthening educators and special educators' capacity to use innovative practices and educational technology to support individuals with disabilities. Our work advances the field by conducting new research and translating existing evidence-based practices to help educators at all levels integrate emerging technologies responsibly. You can learn more at ciddl.org. It's also important for people to know that while CITL is a funded center by the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs, our views and the content shared in this presentation do not represent the positions of the Department of Education. Do not assume endorsement by the federal government. Additionally, CITL does not endorse any technology products. Any products shared are simply examples to demonstrate the capabilities of current systems. Let us start with something we all know. Special educators design instruction for students whose needs change weekly, daily, sometimes minute by minute. The work is high stakes, and it's deeply individualized and bound by timelines set in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and also just class schedules. There's just never really enough time. Where AI can help is on the routine side of planning, the tasks that eat your time without requiring the professional judgment that only you can bring. Those are the ones worth delegating. Time freed from routine drafting becomes time spent on knowing the student, reading the room, and choosing the right scaffold in the moment. The idea is simple. Time saved on routine drafting becomes time spent with students. That's the trade we're going for here. So let us draw the line clearly. AI generates options. Educators evaluate, adapt, and decide. So efficiency belongs to AI, and then judgment, ethics, and accountability belong to the educator. That distinction matters every time you sit down with an AI tool. So this slide maps that distinction. On the left are production tasks, the kinds of drafting, formatting, and summarizing that AI does quickly and that don't require you to know a specific child. On the right are the things that do require you. So the knowledge of the student, the IEP alignment, the compliance judgment, the final call. So take a moment to look at that right column. None of those can be delegated. And just remember that as we go through this slide deck and also just as you're working with AI tools. So we're going to walk through 4 practical applications. So each one trades planning time for instructional responsiveness. There's lesson design, scaffolded materials, formative assessment, and progress data analysis. So now we're going to take them one at a time. Starting with lesson design, the move here is to begin with the standard or the goal and the student. Ask the AI to draft a lesson sequence aligned to the standard or IEP goal, then layer in the context it needs, such as the grade level, the language needs, the prerequisite skills still under development, any supports or accommodations that are needed to achieve it. The sample prompt on the right illustrates this for leveled text. It's specific about reading levels, audience, and the disability context. The result is that the whole class engages with the same content, but each student reads at their own access point. That takes an hour or more to do by hand, even searching online for things, but with a good prompt, you can get a fairly decent first draft in a minute. But here's the ethical through line of this presentation. Always read the output before using it. AI may oversimplify content, it may make something up, it embeds bias, or it may omit key concepts. Never use your output without going through it. You're the quality filter every time. The second application is how AI can help you scaffold materials. Here are some examples. So we can use AI to scaffold materials into things such as graphic organizers, sentence frames, visual supports. These are things that take time, but they don't have to take as much time anymore. And you can use AI to do this and then review after. Be sure that you are checking for bias and making sure that it's aligned with the student's needs and interest. But what took 30 minutes to 3 hours before trying to find or create your own supports and scaffold your own materials now can take minutes. The third application is formative assessment. The 3 principles on this slide give you a reliable structure to help build prompting around this application. So tie items to the actual lesson objective, not something adjacent. Vary item types so you get more than one kind of data point about what students understood, and then build accessibility in from the start. So those 3 moves together mean the exit ticket or whatever formative assessment you generate is actually assessing what you taught. It reaches students with different language and support needs, and also has been checked by the professional in the room, which is you. And the fourth application is progress data analysis. So AI can surface patterns across multiple data sources faster than doing it manually. But pattern recognition is not interpretation. The 3-step process on this slide keeps you in that interpretive role. You aggregate the data, you ask AI to identify trends, and then you evaluate what it found against what you know about the student and the goal. The instructional decision that follows belongs to you, but AI can definitely help cut your work time into a fraction of what it normally is. And here's the non-negotiable. Never paste personally identifiable information into a public AI tool. Always use de-identified summaries, district-approved platforms, and FERPA-aligned workflows. When the data relates to IEP goals, the protections under FERPA and IDA are heightened, so there's no exception for convenience. And if you're ever questioning whether you should put anything personally identifiable into it, just don't. That's the best bet. This brings us to the heart of the ethical through line. The IEP is a legal document governed by IDEA, and AI can support the process of developing the IEP, but the obligations still belong to the IEP team. So the 2 columns on this slide draw a clear boundary. On the left are the things that AI can reasonably support, such as generating drafts, summarizing patterns, producing materials for the team to review. On the right are the things that AI cannot do, regardless of how good the output looks. So eligibility, placement, services, meaningful participation, compliance, those belong to qualified people making individualized decisions. So AI can help you generate ideas, but it should always be the team's decision, not AI's. So read that right column carefully. It's not a list of things AI does poorly. It's a list of things that AI should not do at all. The quality of what AI generates depends almost entirely on what you ask for. I want to note that in other CITL quick takes, they have discussed how to engineer well-constructed prompts, so I do suggest going to those or going to citl.org to learn more about engineering well-developed prompts, because it will be discussed more explicitly there. But here I will discuss 4 quick moves that are reliable structure. So you want to set your role and audience, name the standard or goal, define the format you need, and then iterate rather than accepting the first draft. So go through this process more than once to get the draft that you want. The example on the slide shows what setting the role looks like in practice. A vague prompt produces a generic output, and you're going to have to chat back and forth with the AI tool more than necessary if you're too vague at the beginning. A specific prompt produces something that you can actually use, and you still might have to go back and forth, but not as much if you start out really specific. So there's also 3 guardrails to carry into every AI interaction. So privacy, checking for bias, and oversight. Privacy, keep student data out of public tools. just a full stop, right? With bias, actively check outputs before they reach students, because AI-generated content, again, can embed that deficit framing that you would never write yourself. And then oversight. Document your reasoning, because the professional judgment behind every decision needs to be yours, and it also needs to be visible. We need transparency when we're using AI tools. The workflow on this slide shows how a planning session flows from start to finish. Frame, generate, review, finalize. 12 minutes is a fairly reasonable target, though your first few attempts may take you longer as you develop your prompting instincts, and a more complex lesson or unfamiliar content area may also take longer, regardless of experience. The review phase is where your professional judgment does its work. Everything before it is just set up. Everything after it is yours to use with confidence because you've checked it. So one more note on efficiency. The more context you build into your prompt up front, the less you have to fix it in the review phase. Specificity at the start saves time at the end. So 4 takeaways to carry forward. AI accelerates planning but cannot replace judgment. The IEP is a legal document and only teams decide. Every output needs your review, and never input personally identifiable information into public AI tools. So, some 3 actions for this week. Pick one routine planning task and try it with AI. Write a prompt using the 4 moves before you open the tool, and share an AI-drafted artifact with a colleague or a student teacher and critique it together. Using AI is a practice, and it develops faster in conversation. Responsible AI use is an ongoing practice of critical evaluation, reflection, and advocacy for every learner. So now I want to open the floor to your thoughts, concerns, or specific scenarios you're navigating in your own schools. If you have a question now, please don't hesitate to ask. We're here in the live CEC Quick Take to answer your questions. But if you're like me, and the best questions come to you in 3 hours, or right before you're going to bed, my contact information's on the screen, and our team's here to be a resource for you. You can also reach out to us through CITL.org, where we're constantly updating our framework and resources to reflect the latest in special education technology. Thank you for all the vital work you do for our students.